Jr., who was in court again this morning. There he is. You hear the protesters chanting, crime family, and that is basically what these people are, a crime family, if you will. And Don Jr., he's so embarrassing. He's on the stand, he's testifying in this $250 million fraud trial, and he has to compliment. He said his father is an artist with real estate.
It started like any other late-night monologue, cameras rolling, the band playing, and Jimmy Kimmel walking onto the stage with that casual confidence he's known for. But that night wasn't just another night of celebrity jokes and lighthearted political jabs. Something was different. You could see it in the way he shuffled his cards, pausing for just a second longer before speaking. He knew what he was about to say would hit like a sledgehammer in Washington, and especially in one golden-trimmed penthouse in Trump Tower. Kimmel smiled the kind of smile you give right before dropping a truth bomb that's going to make headlines for weeks. And then he said it. You ever notice how Donald Trump Jr. always manages to avoid answering the real questions? The crowd chuckled, but Kimmel wasn't laughing.
Instead. This could be the new YMCA. They can play it at rallies. You can do TACO. Right?
And just when you thought things couldn't get more surreal, the internet did what it does best. One parody song later, and we're no longer talking about the Village People's Macho Man. Now it's Taco Man, a rebrand nobody asked for, but somehow feels perfectly on brand for the Trump orbit.
Trump's raised the topic again.
He leaned forward, his tone sharpening. Well, I found out why. The studio went dead silent. Cameras zoomed in just enough to catch the shift in his expression. He wasn't doing a bit. He was laying out something real, something that would be replayed over and over again on cable news, YouTube, and every political podcast within hours. Within minutes, Kimmel began recounting incidents that had flown under the radar, stories about Trump, JR's private dealings, questionable meetings, and, most dangerously, personal choices that had never been discussed publicly. But what really made the room shift was the way Kimmel framed it. Not as rumor, not as speculation, but as a pattern of behavior with receipts to back it up. He had documents, he had video, he had witnesses, across the country, and Donald Trump was watching. It's no secret the former president...
We're off to a good start. Starting with stupid Jimmy Kimmel, all right, that part might be true. That's debatable. That's a matter of opinion. Who still hasn't recovered from his horrendous performance and big ratings drop as host of the Academy Awards. Oh, that's weird, because I read in the news that the ratings went up this year.
And as Trump's grudge fest continues, Jimmy Kimmel stays front and center in his mind. Labeled Stupid Jimmy Kimmel during yet another rally rant, Trump blasted the comedian's supposed ratings drop, except, of course, the ratings actually went up. But who needs facts when you've got feelings? After the courtroom fiasco, Jimmy Kimmel shifted the spot.
Keeps one eye on cable news at all times. And that includes the late-night shows he claims not to watch. But insiders say this time, he didn't just watch, he exploded. Aides reportedly heard the sound of a remote slamming against the wall. One described the mood in the room as nuclear. Another said, when it comes to Don Jr., he's protective to a fault. And when someone goes after him on national TV, especially with facts, it's not just politics, it's personal. Back in Los Angeles, Kimmel kept going. Now, I know the Trump family loves to talk about loyalty, he said, but what happens when loyalty is a one-way street? The audience murmured. He wasn't just hinting anymore, he was naming names. And that's when the first clip played on the big screen. It was grainy, but clear enough. Trump Jr. in a private meeting overseas, shaking hands with individuals whose names...
But I'm supposed to know more than them. By this logic, insurance companies are going to start suing patients.
Then came the courtroom logic. Trump Jr. suggested it was unreasonable to expect him to know more than the accountants he paid millions to. Jimmy likened it to insurance companies suing patients for trusting their doctors. Not the best defense unless you're billing for comedy.
For listening to their doctors. Right? You understand? Like, am I supposed to know more? Don Jr. doesn't know anything about it. I'm not an accountant. I'm a business guy.
I'm a business guy who had his elbows soldered together, and now.
And to top it off, Don Jr. insisted, "I'm a business guy." Right before admitting his elbow was soldered together in oddly specific detail that did little to strengthen the case, but plenty to fuel the punchlines. Subscribe and hit the bell so you don't miss what comes next. As
Names
courtroom
had popped up in federal investigations. Kimmel paused the footage, turned back to the crowd, and said, "You tell me, is this just business or something else?" The crowd gasped. In that moment, Twitter, or X, as it's now called, lit up. Hashtag TrumpJR Exposed was trending within 15 minutes. News outlets scrambled to clip the segment. Politicos whispered that Kimmel had just crossed a line no late-night host had dared to cross before. This wasn't satire. This was an expose. The next morning, Trump's Truth Social page was on fire. All caps posts, accusations of fake news, and direct insults toward Kimmel flooded his feed. But here's the thing, none of those posts denied the footage, not one. That's what made this different. Usually, the Trump playbook is to attack, deny, and deflect. This time, he attacked and deflected, but didn't actually deny. By midday, Trump Jr. himself had gone on a conservative podcast to set the record straight. But instead of calmly dismantling the claims, he lashed out. "Jimmy Kimmel is a washed-up comedian who's obsessed with me and my family," he said. But when the host asked point-blank if the meeting in the clip was real, Jr. hesitated. He stammered, and then he gave the classic known answer. "Look, people meet people all the time. That doesn't mean anything." Political analysts pounced. "That's not a denial," one said on CNN. "That's a dodge." Others speculated that this could be tied to larger investigations, brewing quietly behind the scenes. Investigations that, if connected,